We have already had many incredible arcs in the Hunter x Hunter anime, and currently in the manga, what stands out the most is the Kaken succession arc, the princes, the Nen beasts, and each one's motivation, the return of Hisoka, Kurapika's protagonism, and the troop's objectives, as well as Beyond Netero and Pariston. With this in mind, each volume is better than the last, so when this is finally actually animated, what new things will they bring us? Let's dive into this incredible journey together. I ask you now to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notification bell. The news that seemed impossible is finally starting to take shape behind the scenes of the anime industry. The return of Hunter x Hunter. After years of hiatus and uncertainties caused mainly by Yoshihiro Togashi's fragile health and the narrative complexity of the work, the rumors intensify and gradually turn into real hope that the anime will return to adapt the manga, and not with just any content, but with the infamous and dense succession arc of the throne of the Kingdom of Kaken, one of the most political, violent, and psychologically complex moments in the entire history of the franchise. The timing could not be more strategic. The current market is increasingly hungry for bold, dense, and original narratives. In a world where platforms like Netflix, Crunchyroll, Disney+, and Amazon Prime compete for exclusivity of new titles with global audience potential, the return of Hunter x Hunter would be a masterstroke. After all, even with the anime's absence for so long, the brand has never ceased to be relevant. On social media, any small movement by Togashi becomes a trend. A simple doodle posted on Twitter yields millions of views, passionate comments, and endless theories. The audience not only waits, it longs for, and is prepared to dive back into that universe. Unlike previous arcs, the succession arc is not built around Gon or Killua, which by itself already breaks the conventional expectations of a shonen anime viewer. This arc shifts the narrative to Kurapika and places him in an environment where brute force is not enough to survive. The succession of the Kaken throne is an arena of intrigue, strategy, manipulation, and cruelty. Each of the princes involved in the dispute is both heir and executor of a silent war, fought in the luxurious corridors of a gigantic vessel headed to the Dark Continent. And this is exactly why this arc is perfect for adaptation now. The current industry atmosphere is more open than ever to this kind of story. The explosion of titles like Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, and even the final arc of Jujutsu Kaisen has paved the way for content that challenges traditional molds. The audience has matured and more naturally accepts morally gray narratives, impactful deaths, and cold, calculated power plays. In this scenario, the return of Hunter x Hunter with the succession arc would not just be another anime returning to activity. It would be a milestone showing how carefully and complexly crafted works still have a place at the top of the media pyramid. The adaptation would have the challenge and privilege of converting the manga's textual density into effective audiovisual language. On paper, Togashi built long dialogues, detailed rule explanations, and simultaneous scenes that demand the reader's full attention. In the anime, this would require an almost surgical job by the script and direction team, creating rhythm and dynamics without losing the story's strategic essence. But the result could be revolutionary. Imagine the suspense generated by each assassination attempt, each Nen move, each betrayal disguised as palace courtesy coming to life with well-positioned soundtracks, intense performances, and refined art that respects the almost claustrophobic atmosphere of the royal vessel. Kurapika, in this context, transforms into a completely different protagonist than we have seen before. Burdened by guilt, grief, and his obsession with protecting the last memory of his clan, he takes on a calculating, sometimes cold, but deeply tragic posture. The arc's adaptation allows showing the psychological layers of the character with a degree of depth that few animations dare to explore. The constant tension in every room, the choice of words, the exhausted eyes, and the trembling fingers of someone who long ago passed the limit of mental exhaustion. All of this has plenty of room to shine in the anime. And that's not even mentioning his relationship with Prince Wobble, which unexpectedly brings out his humanity. The battles in this arc are atypical. They are not, for the most part, direct fights in the classic sense, but mental clashes, silent hunts, and creative and frightening nun manipulations. The royal guards of the princes, all bearers of extremely peculiar and deadly nun abilities, form a new bestiary of threats that are never solved with brute force. A striking example is the creature summoned by Princess Camilla, whose ability revolves around death and damage reversal by sacrifice. Another emblematic case is Prince Benjamin, who built an army of loyal and coordinated nin users, each willing to kill and die for him. The tension between the prince's rooms turns into almost a chess game with human pieces, where each move can mean the end of a dynasty and the beginning of a bloodbath. The setting of the journey towards the Dark Continent is another point that the animation can richly explore visually. The vessel, despite being technologically advanced, is a battlefield disguised as diplomacy. Narrow corridors, sealed doors, surveillance systems, forbidden areas, all contribute to a suffocating sense of confinement. At the same time, this structure reinforces the arc's central metaphor, a fight for survival where the destiny is the unknown. With each episode, the viewer would feel the pressure rising, as if climbing a spiral inevitably leading to an explosion. Another asset of the adaptation would be the gradual return of iconic figures. Leorio, even with limited appearances, can have his charisma renewed in the anime, participating more actively in the medical and political plot. Beyond Netero, son of the legendary Hunter Association president, can be developed with even more nuances. And of course, there is the constant specter of Gon and Killua, who, even absent, hover over the narrative as a reminder of simpler times, contrasting with the dark and paranoid atmosphere of the present. From a commercial perspective, the return of Hunter x Hunter would have a massive impact. Platforms are in search of titles with guaranteed engagement. The mere mention of the anime in catalogs would cause waves of subscriptions. Netflix, for example, has already experienced this power when it made the previous arcs available in the catalog of several countries. Marathons exploded, with old episodes ranking in the top 10 even years after their original airing. Crunchyroll, on its part, has been heavily investing in simulcasts and partnerships with renowned studios, and could perfectly be part of the project. There is also the possibility of a co-production, as has been happening with high-budget animes, which would allow not only the faithful adaptation of the arc, but also its expansion with extra episodes, exclusive content, and perhaps even interactive episodes. Fan engagement would be another determining factor. With a community as devoted as Hunter Hunters, marketing would practically make itself. Cosplays of the princes, reinterpretations of theories, videos detailing the rules of each nin ability, editions with intense political theory soundtracks. Everything is ready, just waiting for the studio to press the start button. Hashtags would multiply, explanatory videos would go viral, and debates about who is the most dangerous prince or which guard has the deadliest ability would become trending. From a technical standpoint, the ideal would be a studio that combines narrative fidelity with animation excellence. The arc demands attention to detail, expressive animations on faces, fluidity in fast combat, and care with the setting. A studio like Madhouse, which already handled the previous version, would be a logical choice, but others like Mappa or Ufotable could transform this arc into a true masterpiece if the focus were to elevate the work's density to unprecedented audiovisual levels. In terms of time, the Succession arc already has enough material for about 30 to 40 well-distributed episodes, and this without considering extra moments that can be added to give breathing room to the story's heavy rhythm. The premiere could be planned to coincide with the end of other major series, taking advantage of the public's attention gap. A simultaneous worldwide release, with dubbing and subtitles in multiple languages, would give the work the stage it has always deserved. Social networks would explode. Reaction videos would bring tears, chills, and discussions. And the anime world, once again, would have to acknowledge Hunter x Hunter has never stopped being relevant. This return would not just be the rebirth of an interrupted work. It would be the definitive consecration of a narrative that dares not to follow easy paths. The Succession arc of Kaken shows what happens when power, greed, pain, and strategy collide in a limited space, with no escape. Kurapika bleeds, lies, sacrifices, and survives. The princes conspire, kill, and despair. None ceases to be a combat technique, and becomes a reflection of the human soul in its most extreme form. And in the end, perhaps the biggest question is not who will win the succession, but who will survive it. And when the last closing note sounds, when Togashi's name appears in the credits, and fans realize that, finally, the Succession arc has gained animated form, the impact will be felt like thunder in the heart of the global anime community. Because Hunter x Hunter has always been more than a shonen. It was, and continues to be, one of the most courageous narratives we have ever seen in motion.